Hi guys, I'm Anita and I'm back with another video. Today is time for my weekly update. I apologize if this is coming up a little bit late today, but I have been at my sister's for dinner and so I just came back home and I needed to film this really quickly. I've been very excited about sharing my weekly progress this week because I've been doing very well. I read a lot more than I had set my goals to, but when I initially made my own goals for this week, I forgot that Jury's was this weekend, so obviously that took a lot of the reading. But I also had read a lot by Friday, audio-wise, so I'm very happy about my progress for the week. First things first, let's go over my goals for myself and what I plan to read and what I actually ended up finishing last week. In total, last week I set myself a goal to read 1,450 pages, which equals to about 207 pages per day, which was a lot lower than my previous week because that week I didn't manage anything at all. I was around the 200 page mark every day, so I figured lowering my page count daily was a little better, and then seeing if I can't meet that and not feeling like I failed too much. I ended up reading 2,183 pages, and that averages to about 312 pages per day. I will quickly admit that Saturday and Sunday those 2 days I read 1,000 pages or more, so just over 1,000 pages. So I feel like that obviously have to be taken into consideration as well. And all the other days I was over 200 pages every day, so way past 200 pages except for Friday. I had plans to finish 5 books and start on a 6th one, and I ended up finishing 8 books this past week, so I far surpassed my expectations and I'm really happy about that. The first thing that I finished over the past week was 99 Red Balloons by Elizabeth Carpenter. This is the book that I had to read for my Shangri TBR project for March. I didn't finish it in March, but I did finish it on Monday, I believe. I finished it already Monday or Tuesday. And it was sort of a multiple perspective type of thriller. I found out later on that it switched time periods, like it jumped in time. And that was a little bit confusing to me because it wasn't completely easy to see when you're reading it, so you had to sort of I found that a little bit of a distraction, but I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. I didn't like it as much as I wanted to, and I was hoping to, but it was sort of okay. There was definitely moments that I enjoyed, but there were also moments that I didn't really care about. The next thing that I finished was Grimm, the retellings by Kenneth Bøgh Andersen and Benny Bødker. These were 10 of the Grimm stories told as close to the original forms that they had, and just sticking to the core of those stories and sort of telling it in their own way. And while I did enjoy the stories, I think that they were too close. I don't know if it were too close, but they were not very new to me. I mean, I know that they were darker than the ones that I've been told, but they were not that much darker. So I guess I've been listening to some stories that were already pretty close to the originals. And this one, I think I'm on a 3 stars for this one as well. It was pretty well told and constructed interestingly. And my favorite story was the Rapunzel, and which is also my favorite Grimm fairy tale beforehand. So I was happy I was also enjoying this specific story from their new refreshed version. Now we're going to get into the Duries part. I just had a real coughing fit, oh my god. Next thing is going to be my Duries part, where I finished 6 books this weekend. A lot of them were books that I'd already started, so I'm going to start out in the order that I finished them. The first thing that I finished over Duries was Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. This I had been working on all week, and I managed to sort of keep my hold a little longer than it was originally due because I shut off my Wi-Fi of the Overdrive app from my iPad, and it couldn't retract the book because of that. So I ended up being able to finishing it, and I overall enjoyed it. I thought it was interesting reading science fiction from Brandon Sanderson. I mean, it's the first time he's still into that genre, and I think he did pretty well considering. and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The next thing that I finished was Men at Arms by Terry Pratchett. This is the 15th book in the Discworld, and this is the second book in the City Watch series. And so far, I stick to my opinion about the City Watch and the Death series, sub-series being my favorites. I really enjoy all of the characters from these two series. I mean, Death is my favorite Discworld character, and so he's in all of the books. But this one, I really like his own series, obviously, but I really enjoy Carrot and Vimes and Dibbler and all of the other characters from the City Watch, and I cannot wait to get back to this. It was a fun mystery type of thing set in the Discworld, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. The next thing that I picked up in for the series was my graphic novels from my TBR for the month, and that was The Adventure Zone, Here There Be Gerblins by all of the McElroys and Carrie Peach. I've said this so many times, I'm just gonna zoom in on the names here. This started, these guys are known for a podcast called The Adventure Zone, and from that, this happened. So I was just I didn't know about that beforehand when I went into this, so I was thrown into the deep end with this one. So it took a little time, and I scrambled a little bit around to figure out what was going on. But I ultimately ended up really enjoying it. I really enjoyed the artwork. The artwork is sort of my style. I think it was really funny and quirky and reminded me a little bit of sort of old school comic styles, which I like. And there was I found myself laughing out loud several times over the story, so there was definitely a lot of fun moments in this one as well, and I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. After finishing The Adventure Zone, before finishing The Adventure Zone, I actually finished Whose Body by Dorothy L. Sayers, which I've been working on for the past many weeks, but it was sort of in the morning when I woke up Sunday morning. I decided now I need to finish this, and I'm not gonna get breakfast until I'm done with it, and I decided to read the final part of it. And overall, I like this book. It's a bit wordy, and I think that I have to get used a little bit to Peter, the character Peter, but I definitely thought it was interesting, and I was enjoying the mystery overall, and I ended up giving 3.5 stars. I had my difficulties with the book and finding it a little bit slow and stuff, but it didn't mean that I didn't love it. It didn't mean that I didn't like it, but it was just, I just have to get used to it, and I'm looking forward to trying out the second book when I'm more used to this and I know what sort of thing to expect. I might be able to get to know the characters a little bit more over the books. I haven't read a lot of classic mysteries. In general, I haven't read a lot of classics, so I'm not used to the writing style. But I will hopefully get more used to that as time goes when I start to read more classics. The next thing that I also finished this weekend was Tempus Fugit by Kenneth B. Anderson. This is only like 75 or 80 pages. I think I said it was 90 pages in my vlog, which will be up in a couple of days when I've had time to edit it. Yeah, it's 76 pages, so it's really, really short. And this is an interesting take on time turning and not time traveling, but time turning, turning back. With this guy, a boy finds a pocket watch, and finds he's able to turn back the time, like 1 hour maximum, and he starts using that in order because he's being bullied. So he tries to what he wants to do, and because he wants to give something back, but doesn't want the repercussions of what he would do what will happen if he does that, like the repercussions of that. So he always just turns back the time when he's done something like that. And yeah, but as time goes, he figures out that it's a bit cowardly to do this, but he also figures there's something with this time turner that's not all that it seems. And it was really interesting. I really enjoyed it, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was definitely very enjoyable. Though it was short, it was a different and interestingly written story. So I definitely recommend it if it ever gets translated. The last and final thing that I finished over the past week was Fruits Basket Volume 7. This is the 7th volume in my Fruits Basket manga. I really enjoy these mangas. They're very fun, they're quirky. I don't love them as much as Full Metal Alchemist, but these are very, they're cute and they're comfortable to read, and some of these have been better than others, and I find this is one of the better ones in the series so far, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. So those were all of the things that I finished over last week. I also managed to get almost halfway, I think 45% into Fool's Assassin by Robin Hobb, the first book in the Fitz and the Fool trilogy. And yeah, so now into my plans for this week. So when I went into this week, I was already reading 4 books. I'll get into why later. The first thing that I'm working on is still When the Sky Fell on Splendor. I managed to read 11 pages of this last week, so not a whole lot. It's not been a priority last week, so we'll see when I get time to read this. I'm also reading, I was also in the middle of Pawn of Prophecy. This is the last part of that one. It is like divided into 2. I've talked about this a couple of times in my videos, but this is part 2 of Pawn of Prophecy. It's called The Old Wizard in Danish, and it's 145 pages long. So I could definitely try and prioritize it sometimes in April, probably. Then I also am, as I said, almost halfway. At this point, I'm over halfway done with Fool's Assassin by Robin Hobb, and yeah. My goals for the week is going to be, first of all, I want to finish Fool's Assassin by Robin Hobb. I have about 346 pages left, so it shouldn't be a big deal. I mean, I know these books goes a little slower because it's adult fantasy than the YA fantasy would have if it was 350 pages, but I have 6 or 7 hours left of it. I think yesterday, before I started today, I had 7.5 hours left. So that is, I hope to finish that over the 3 to 4 days time. And then I have for at home reading, I have started on What Could Possibly Go Wrong by Jodi Taylor. This I actually started because last week I had issues with Storytel, my app that I listen to audios, and I couldn't listen to Men at Arms, so I started, instead of not reading anything while I was doing the dishes, I think, I started listening to What Could Possibly Go Wrong, so I was always an hour into this audio when I started this week. Then I have put down to read Stolen Time by Danielle Rollins for my Owls readathon. I mean, Fool's Assassin, the other 2 books are also for my Owls, but just so I can have 1 more audio, I'd like to finish 3 audios in a week, if possible. And my main physical reading book of the week is going to be The Rook by Daniel O'Malley. This is 482 pages long, so I'm really looking forward to reading this one. I have been dying to get to this for so long, so I'm hoping it lives up to my expectations. Last and finally, if I have time, I've set myself a goal of reading about 100 pages in When the Sky Fell on Splendor as well. 99 pages I put down because that means I am on page 199 when I get through this book. I am on page 201 right now. And yeah, that means I'll have to read 1,741 pages, which averages out to about 250 pages per day, which I hope I'll be able to do. Now I'm going to be leaving you because it's getting really dark in here, and my phone is about to die of battery loss. So yeah, let me know in the comments down below if you have any exciting plans for this week's reading, and did you meet your goals you set for yourself last week? How did you participate in the Deweys, and how did you do? And have you read any of the books that I've been talking about today, and what were your thoughts on them? Also let me know about that. And if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video very soon. Bye!